Okay, this is now the 5 Minute Tarot for the 17th of February 2017. And this and the next two videos are going to be about having confidence in your own ability to read the tarot, no matter if you're a beginner or if you've been at this for a while. So I'd like to discuss a little bit about having confidence in what it is and how to get it. I'd like to begin today, or this video, thinking about the tarot as a metaphor. So a metaphor is where you, or when you describe something by referring to something else. So if we say there's a bottleneck in the traffic, we understand not that there's glass on the road, but the bottleneck is like maybe 3 lanes that it's going to narrow down into 2 or into 1. And we understand with a bottleneck that it's going to take longer, right? Because the traffic has to funnel into a smaller area or smaller space than it normally would. Okay, that's one point. And there was an example of Star Trek, the Next Generation, that I saw once, where Captain Picard had landed, or he was abandoned or whatever it was, on this planet, and he couldn't speak the language, and the people couldn't speak his language. And the way it ended up was he was able to communicate with the other people by referring to incidents and situations, and I can't remember any of the words or the names, but there was one point where Picard expresses what he wants to express by saying to this alien person, somebody at the battle of something or other, right? And the fellow understood what Picard was getting at because he knew the story of this person at the battle of whatever. And he was able to make something of what Picard was trying to say. And as an example, if I say to you, okay, football, Celtic won the European Cup in 1967, and they were playing an Italian team called Inter Milan, and the Italian football teams at that time were well known for this brand of football called catenaccio, which is defensive, right? So if you gave up a goal to Inter Milan, the odds are you were never going to score against them, right? They were so powerful and strong defensively and so in the European Cup final in 1967, Inter got a dubious penalty after about 7 minutes, and it was like it's all over for Celtic. But they played well, they came back, they equalised, and then they scored the winning goal. So if I say to you, Celtic winning the European Cup, the metaphor is, or the idea is, you've got the odds are stacked against you early on. There's a fluke situation, and a decision goes against you, but nevertheless, instead of giving up, you redouble your efforts. You play extremely well, you're clever, you're inventive, and you're able to triumph, right? So that's the metaphor. So if I say Celtic winning the European Cup, because they overcame great defensive ability in the Italian team. So if you take the idea of a metaphor and then look at a card, so you're asking yourself, what's going on in this card? What's the metaphor? What's the message? What is it saying? And the card I'm looking at today is the Four of Pentacles. And so you've got the fellow, he's maybe on a stage, it looks like there's a backdrop of the city, and he's got a coin on his crown on his head. He's holding one like this. Don't know if you can see that. And he's got a coin under each foot. So some pictures or illustrations in the rider deck are kind of normal, like you've got people sitting or standing or leaning, and you can imagine that people could actually be like that. So it's a natural, typical human position or experience that's going on in the card. This one, though, isn't the sort of thing you would see. It's formal, or it's stylized, it's been set up. And this is the first thing I'd like to mention about this particular card, that it can be, because it's stylized, that we ought to, when this card comes up, we ought to be paying attention to the style and because the rules are important. This is not just a snapshot of somebody sitting or doing something. It's been deliberately set up to convey a certain message or to present a certain style or a certain position or something like that. So that I think we could, when the Four of Pentacles comes up, it may be that you would talk about, and remember, you can't say everything about every card every time. So we're kind of picking and choosing, but we're trusting ourselves that we're going to choose something that's relevant for the person to hear. So because this illustration is stylized, it can be an indication that we ought to be aware of what the rules are that apply with the question that's been asked, because the rules are important, the rules that people play by, and what's normal is going to be important as well. Because this has been, okay, it may be that because the picture is so deliberate, right? We've got the coin and the two coins. It can be that the questioner is supposed to be deliberate in his or her setup. So you're supposed to do things because you know what you're doing, or do things for a reason that you already are aware of. If you're casual and the Four of Pentacles comes up, or if you're acting in a casual manner under the influence of the Four of Pentacles, it's not going to work. It's stylized, it's deliberate, and that's how that can be what will bring success or bring a solution, or the solution is in the direction of being non-casual, but being strict and conforming to the rules and doing what's normal or doing what's typical. So it could be something as simple as, if you're in an office and the boss walks in, or you're about to have a meeting and the boss walks in, maybe it's normal to stand up and in some way show respect for the position of the boss, or personal respect if you like the fellow, or if you actually do respect the boss. So that's stylized, formal behavior, and that can be that type of acting or that type of behavior is going to be important in the answer to the question. Okay, so that's a starting point for this Four of Pentacles. So your homework is look at the picture of the Four of Pentacles and think about what is the metaphor. What's in the same way that Celtic winning the European Cup is a lot, that there's an awful lot going on with those few words. So what is the metaphor with the Four of Pentacles, would you say? And we'll look at, I'll give you a couple of points tomorrow, and then the day after that we'll look at some general rules about how you can have, and how you're correct to have confidence in your own tarot reading ability, no matter what stage you're at. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.